Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vedya dravinam tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stitani cha yatraivo bhashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So where are we in our text?
We're in chapter 19, and the verse is number 13-14.
Do you know what page that is, Mark?
It's the bottom of page 194.
194. Should I start?
Please.
Bhrishta bijopamayoshaam vasana rasavarjita achitta iti kathyante jivan mukta hi te sthitaha. They are declared to be free from the mind, whose mental impression or knowledge derived from memory is destitute of taste or liking and resembles a roasted seed in its inability to sprout. They are indeed liberated while living.
Yes, so we have this classic image of the roasted seeds to describe the mind of the Jivan Mukta. So what we want to look at is our understanding of vasana. Just as a review, of vasana is an impression left in the unconscious as the result of previously formed egoistic actions. It involves I-ness and minus. It's created because of chintya, after the fact rumination over an event, either positively or negatively. And it leaves this particular kind of impression. It is a subset of sanskara. Sanskara just means an impression. Can you all see that this is a lamp?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that this is a lamp doesn't cause you to suffer. But for example, Wendy and Lloyd, did you drive over here tonight?
Mm-hmm.
In whose car?
Mine?
Your car. Do you know what the car alarm sounds like?
Yes.
If your car alarms, you heard a crash of glass and the car alarm started to go off, how would you feel?
My car.
Yeah. My car's been broken into. How could they do that to me? I've been violated. I-ness and minus. Now, when a vasana is created, Shankara uses this wonderful metaphor. It's like the thread of a silkworm spinning a cocoon. One vasana comes, no big deal. You could probably snap it if you had the wherewithal to do a little bit of tapas, a little bit of austerities. But the fact is, we don't bother. And so it's one impression after another impression after another impression, millions of them over lifetimes. And just like the silkworm then gets cocooned by the threads of its own making, so also the human mind gets cocooned by vasana. Now, vasana has two powers, avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti. Avarana shakti, veiling power, meaning I have the non-apprehension of myself as Brahman. And then vikshepa shakti, projecting power. I project three fundamental ideas. First, I think I'm a person, jiva bhavana, and that is inherently incomplete. The word I've been using the past few months is spiritual impoverishment. I'm not enough, there's not enough. Then the mind projects a goal. The goal only takes two forms. I either need to fix the world or I need to fix me. And the third element is struggle, kartavya. And the more I want it and the further away it is, the more I struggle and the more unhappy I am. The first avarana shakti, then comes vikshepa shakti. We see this more clearly if again we look to the dream state. So we get another kind of avarana shakti. When you go to sleep, you could say deep sleep is the non-apprehension of yourself as the waker. Then comes the dream, vikshepa shakti. I think I'm the dreamer in the dream world. And especially if it's an anxiety dream, I need to either go someplace or do something, and then I need to struggle to get at it. But upon awakening, I see the whole thing was just a creation of my mind. So in Viveka Chudamani, Shankara addresses this issue, meaning even after in class, we've had these moments when I see the no-thingness of myself. I've read the scriptures. I'm convinced of their truth. He says, even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for rebirth. Here, meaning I re-identify. This is this jiva bhavana. It is the first fruit of ignorance. It's the first projection. What do we do about it? Avarana Shakti, veiling power, has as its essential nature ignorance. The antidote to ignorance is knowledge. So Shankara says this needs to be conscientiously rooted out. How? Through steady and continuous identification with the self over and over and over again. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. Don't try to resolve the struggle of ego. Instead, drop the ego. Remember, you are Brahman. As a direct experience, stop, thin the mind, introvert the attentive faculty. Notice who you are. This burns up vasana.
Burns up what?
Burns up the vasanas. It strikes at their root, which is the avarana shakti, which is the veiling power. And then he finishes that verse by saying it's the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that's considered liberation by the wise. Now, listen very carefully. In the end, desire is not an impediment to realization. Let me show you what a direct experience. If you just take a moment to tune up the mind, notice who you are. Listen to the traffic and notice who hears. Oh, there's nobody there. Now deliberately think the thought, I'd like a mango. Did you cease to be awareness when you said that? No. So here, what Yoga Vasishtha is talking about is roasted vasana. So we see the man or woman of knowledge acting in the world with what appears to be desires. For the jnani, they are preferences. But they do not have the quality of a varana shakti. So if I go get some mung beans and I plant them, I want to make some bean sprouts. You know, in the old timey days, we used to use a pie tin with toweling paper. How do you sprout beans nowadays? Do you do it differently? They probably have some machine that does it. But if you take the same mung beans and you put them in a skillet, no oil, just a skillet, you heat them up and roast them, they won't sprout because they're roasted. So a roasted vasana is one that will not sprout with a varana shakti and then the subsequent vikshepa shakti. Yes, it expresses as an inclination of preference, but it does not rob us of self-experience. Well, how do I know? Goes back to what I say so frequently. If I feel like a person, I have a Varana Shakti operating in my mind. It's that simple. If I take the craving, the desire, the attachment seriously, my happiness is dependent on it, the kartavya. I'm a fool. I'm identified. That's how you know. Very important point. Now, each yogi works this out for themselves. The key is don't fool yourself. Any thoughts or questions about this? It's a very subtle verse. With what I've said in mind, please read the verse, the English again. We can see the frame of it with the discussion.
They are declared to be free from the mind, whose mental impression or knowledge derived from memory is destitute of taste or liking, and resembles a roasted seed in its inability to sprout. They are indeed liberated while living.
It's by the taste or liking, meaning I have no need to get rid of it. I have no need to have it or get rid of it. It's just something that's the force of the past maturing. The robot's on automatic pilot. But with the clear understanding, the phrase I use, the world becomes trinkets and baubles. And if something is no longer available, no big deal. You go on. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse. Am I speaking loud enough, Lloyd?
Thank you.
Vasanavashata prana spandate na cha vasana jayate chitta bijasya tena bijankurakkraman ekasmin astu tayo shine Shipram dve api nashyatah. The movement of prana or vital energy happens under the influence of mental impressions. Also, mental impression is gathered through the movement of prana or vital energy. By that, there arises the succession of seed and sprout to the mind, which is the seed. When one among these two is worn away, even the two are speedily destroyed.
Yes. So the movement of the prana as it moves through the various chakras, as it activates desire, etc. The mind is in cahoots with the prana, which is in cahoots with the mind. So what the verse is saying is, you can gain control of the mind through pranayama, or you can do intense vairagya and atma vichara. And what Yoga Vasishtha says is both are efficacious, and many people practice both. This is what Swami Satchidananda called an integral yoga. Shivananda called his outfit the Yoga Vedanta Society because they did both. Now, the trap is this for the Raja Yogis. If you do asana and pranayama, without a firm devotion to vairagya, you can have what we call a jada samadhi. You huff and puff and huff and puff, and you do the bandhas, and you kind of hyperventilate and kind of get high. But what's left is I, the individual, see blank, but blah, and people think that's a spiritual experience. But the ego sense has not gone away one bit. Why? Because there's no real attempt to destroy vasana. If, on the other hand, as you're doing your pranayama, pratyahara, your sense withdrawal, which is more than just bringing your attention in during meditation, it's the same as the uparati that Shankara talks about in Vivekachudamani, being able to move through the world so that the objects of the senses don't create vrittis. It's not different. It's not different. Antithetically, you can be what we call a lip Vedantan. Someone who's read all the scriptures and all the commentaries and has a clear intellectual understanding, but is at best a shallow meditator. Then they have what's called paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge, as opposed to aparoksha jnana, direct knowledge. Are the scriptures a valid means of knowledge? Yes. But I think most of you, Floyd hasn't, but the rest of you have. Lloyd, I'm sorry, I called you Floyd. Have studied Vivekachudamani. And at the beginning of the study of that text, I will say, if you do everything Shankara suggests, I can almost guarantee self-realization. Idiot in, jnani out. I mean it. But unfortunately, many of the students in their minds think, oh, if I read everything Shankara wrote, and there's a difference. And there's, in the beginning, my experience and my understanding are together. Yeah, I can do that. But all of a sudden, he starts going off into the higher flights. Wait a minute, wait a minute. And where do I usually fall short? Vairagya. I have yet to develop mature dispassion. Why? Because I'm still a spiritual drunkard. I'm still deluded by the world. So both paths are efficacious, and both paths have pitfalls. Any thoughts on this? It is my opinion that at one point the both paths they join and they become the same. When we start to study single pointedness of mind and deep meditation and samadhi. All right, next verse.
Section 2, the absence of knowing or experiencing. asamvedanam. Samvedhyam etayo bijam tatyagat nashyati dvayam sanvidam vidhi sanvedhya bijam rama taya vina na sambhavati samvedhyam telahina tilo yatha. What is known or experienced is the seed or cause of these two, the movement of vital energy and mental impression. By the renunciation of that, or the known, both movement of vital energy and mental impression perish. Rama, understand knowing or experiencing as the seed or cause of the known or the experienced. Without that, knowing or experiencing, the known or the experienced does not arise or exist, just as the sesame seed does not exist without the oil.
Yes. So the import of the verse boils down to this. It is my fascination for, my obsession with the Vishaya, the objects of the senses, both gross and subtle, that causes the mind, the problematic mind, to come into being. How do I get out of it? Take on the meditation. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world, gross and subtle, is illusory. I can't think a real thought. All the opinions in the world are essentially an illusion. Only I is real. No personal sense of self is real. So I not only give up my belief in the fundamental reality of the objects of the senses, but I give up my belief in the truthfulness or the reality of my own thoughts. I like to use the term, this is not knowing, it is unknowing. It is not ignosia like ignorance. It is agnosia, not knowing. Unknow the mind. Any thoughts on this? Going on.
Sanvedanam anantaya dukkhaya jananatmane asanvitti ajadasya tha sukhaya janatmane. Knowing or experiencing is for or productive of endless sorrow, consisting of or of the nature of birth. Absence of knowing or experiencing, abiding in a state free from dullness, is for or productive of happiness, consisting of or of the nature of freedom from birth.
So we can look at this in two ways. It's a description of the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, when all the thoughting ceases. But that is not the highest state. That reveals the no-thingness of myself in the world. But sahaja samadhi, natural or continuous samadhi, is while thoughts occur, I clearly see their fundamental unreality. Just like when you see the rainbow, you know you can't grab it. Seen but not real. Just as when you see the mirage in the desert, you can't go swimming. Seen but not real. The objects of the senses appear, the thoughts flow by. Seen but not real. What's real? You are real. I was talking with a kid yesterday who's basically a Catholic theologian. He teaches theology at a Catholic girls' high school. And he's also got a lot of Buddhist training, and he's pretty deep mystic. And we're just starting to play with these ideas. And in the Hebrew scripture, God says, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. And then we look at the nature of God as omnipresent, everywhere present. So God is transcendental. The Voyager spacecraft is never going to make it to God, no matter how far it goes. But God is also immanent, meaning God pervades the universe. Is your butt in the universe? Oh, that means God pervades you. What about you is the same yesterday, today, and forever? Come to find out, it's my very experience of I. Don't believe me? Look. In a mind made Vishuddha, extremely pure. Pure enough so there's space between your thoughts. Turn the mind's eye, the attentive faculty, back on the mind's source. Who am I? Or that famous Zen koan, what was your face before your mother's birth? There God is. Next verse.
Sri Rama Vacha Asamvitti Ajadastha Kidrishi Bhavati Prabho Asamvittau Cha Jadyam Tat Katham Va Vinivartate.
Excuse me.
Sri Rama said, Revered Lord, of what nature is absence of knowing or experiencing? When there is the absence of knowing or experiencing, how possibly does that dullness cease?
So, but your absence of knowing experience is cheap. I do that every night. If I have an entire bottle of wine, it's gone. Is that what you're talking about? The insensibility of pure ignorance? What's the highest state? Heroin! No. But there's a deeper doubt that's implied in this. Many people get stuck for decades, some of us, confusing the state of manolaya with manonasha. Manolaya is the dissolution of the mind into unconsciousness. Do you meditate? Oh, yes. I sit in my, what do you call the bark loungers?
Lazy boy.
You're my lazy boy. And I put on the music and then I just drift off and I'm gone. That's not meditation. That's manolaya. Now, most of us live with enormous stress. Better you should have some moments of manolaya, real relaxation. It's not bad. It's just not meditation. The mind, did you have a thought, Lloyd?
Well, yeah, anyway, my mother, I took her a couple of times to see this stuff. And she loved it because she said, I just sit down and I go to sleep anytime. And I said, well, honey, enjoy some.
The mind at meditation is silent but vigilant and alert. I always think of if you have a pet cat and there's a moth or a fly on the floor, the cat is stalking it. It's so still and it's so attentive to the fly. It jumps. So the mind in meditation needs to be that quiet, but that poised. I think many of us have experienced it. Have you ever been out at a party and had 2 or 3 beers, and while you're driving home, there's a police car behind you? And all of a sudden, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, turn signal indicator. Yeah, you know that feeling? You're just so aware and awake. Mind of meditation. So this, go on, let's see what he says.
Vasishtha Vacha, Ya sarvatranavasthastho vishrantastho na kutrachit jivo na vindate kinchit asamvid ajado hi saha jivan mukta savigneya kurvan karya shatan yapi. Vasishtha said, He who has no settled support or means of abiding everywhere, nor has reposed stay anywhere, that liberated soul does not recognize or experience anything of the known. He is not knowing or experiencing, but is not dull, since he is of the nature of pure undivided consciousness. He ought to be known as liberated while living, though doing hundreds of acts.
Yes. So again, it can be a description of nirvikalpa samadhi, which is like deep sleep in that there's no experience of the world. no nothing. But better, is what he's talking about is sahaja samadhi, meaning that personal sense of self is gone. There's no longer any need to control the mind. Why? Because I don't believe the mind. So R2D2 projects the hologram of Princess Leia. Obviously, what we need to do is put her in handcuffs to control her. Can you put the hologram of Princess Leia in handcuffs?
No,
Why not?
it's not real.
Uh-huh.
Rejection.
That's all this world is, and that's all your mind is. The mind is nowhere standing. There's no thing called the mind. Doesn't even belong to anybody. Next verse.
समस्त वासनां त्यक्त्वा निर्विकल्प समाधितः आनन्दित्वं भवेत्यच्च तप्यन्त्यविर्यलीयते. Having renounced all mental impressions, even that state of bliss which arises from nirvikalpa samadhi or absorption in absolute consciousness is dissolved within.
So we get all tuned up here in class. Mind gets so empty. We get pretty blissed out. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? But now Vasishtha said, renounce the bliss of samadhi. Why? Because if you start to make the bliss of samadhi another object of desire, it becomes like trying to stomp on the head of your shadow. The more you chase it, the more it recedes. Now, the other part of this is you cannot renounce something you haven't got. If we look at Shankara's Vivekachudamani, there's a long section where he stresses practice samadhi. And there's are major reasons for it. The most important, I talk about the ruthless rule of the mind. The ruthless rule of the mind is it will return to the experience that's given it the greatest joy. There's no help for it. If great sex is where you've gotten the biggest high, that's your God. If it's adrenaline rush of jumping off of bridges on a bungee cord, that's your high. That's where you're going to go. That's your God. If it's the attention or the approval of others, that's your God. So we've got to be very honest with ourselves. Now, the good news is this: thank God, God is the most beloved, or we'd all be screwed. Once you begin to understand this Brahmananda Rasaswad, those of us who studied Panchadashi on Monday nights, tasting the juice of the bliss of Brahman. Shankara will use the phrase Atmaramana, to revel in the sound. The value of this is it will take you out of the world. Example I use in the basic course. So when you were a little child and you had a tricycle and you loved cruising around the driveway with your little tricycle, any of you remember that? Do they have tricycles in India?
Yes.
And did you eventually get a two-wheeled bike? Yes?
Yeah.
What happened to your desire for the tricycle? Was there any great act of renunciation? No, because the two-wheeled bike gave you more joy. And now it's getting a Porsche and a Harley. Because it brings me more joy. And the beauty of tasting the juice of the bliss of Brahman. It's always available. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to look your best. It's free. It's myself. And the only price tag is give up the world. Doesn't mean not functioning out there in your vyavaharika. It means give up your attachment, your investment, your clinging to the world. Then samadhi becomes easy. But the mind returns from samadhi, and then you gotta do the dishes. Or you're sick and you feel totally crappy. I was talking with my friend Isabel, and she was flying with Swamiji. I think it was from Europe to the continental United States. And there was like a whole bunch of layovers. And I think there was like 20, 25 hours of travel time. He was an old, frail man. And as they were getting to where he was staying, I can't remember if it was her place or a hotel, he goes, "Oh, not much divinity right now." You know, he was whooped
Not much divinity left.
right now.
Okay.
You know, he's pretty beat up. But his knowledge never left him. Now, what this verse does not mean I've studied the scriptures, I have an intellectual understanding about who and what I am, and the scripture is said, renounce the bliss of samadhi. No, it's easy for me to do. I don't have it. And so what I really have is an ordinary mind. And I may fool people But in truth, I still am attached to the world. And you can feel it in someone. The opposite idea, you can go meet a Mahatma. And if you have that trick to be able to just tune up the mind, this person's deep in the sound. They are a knower. They have the taste. The Brahmananda Rasa Swam. This is a great thing. I don't particularly care whether or not they've got non-dual talk, the God talk. They can lecture on the scriptures, or they've written books, or even more important, they're on YouTube. No. Do they have the Shunya Prasad? A great gift of emptiness and silence. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Ajado Galitananda Tyakta Sanvedana Sukhi Taret Dukkham Buddhe Param Apara Gunasagaram. The one who is not dull, whose bliss has dropped, who has renounced knowing or experiencing, and is at ease, shall cross over to the farther shore of the ocean of sorrow, wherein lies the inexhaustible sea of excellence.
So, what is the real mark of the Jivan Mukta? Peace of mind. The cessation of all struggle. A heart that's open but still. With no undertakings left to do. They may practice meditation, they may not. Did you have a question, Lloyd? Okay. There's no need to be in samadhi and deep meditation all the time. Some Mahatmas are fond of it. We have these stories in the scripture, you come upon some sage in the jungle and he's been in samadhi for 12 years and stuff like that. I mean, there's no rule. There's no rule. Going on.
Here it says, whose bliss has dropped, which means that they have renounced bliss, right? That's that word.
Yes. Meaning they're no longer attached. It doesn't mean they don't abide in it.
Asthasya samvido rama sanmatram bijamuchyate dve rupe tatra sattaya nana chaikam iti smrite. Rama, mere existence, is said to be the seed of origin of this knowing. In that, there are two forms of existence, declared as the one and the manifold.
So he's going to talk about what we call sa-guna Brahman, Brahman with qualities, and nir-guna Brahman, Brahman without qualities. Brahman without qualities, I. Brahman with qualities, sarvam idam, all this. Going on.
Ghatata patata tatta tvatta me teti kathyate satta rupa vibhagena yattat nanakriti smritam. What is declared as the state of a vessel, cloth, that, you, and me on account of the division in the form or nature of existence, that is considered to be of manifold appearance.
Yes. So, what do we mean by this? Let's again return to the dream state. So, in the dream state, first of all, you go to sleep and your mind is in its avyaktaha, its unmanifest state, deep sleep. It is pragyana ghanam, a homogeneous mass of prajna, of just unformed consciousness. Then the dream state. And what happens is manifold appearance of objects. You've got a dream body, you have dream senses that perceive dream objects, and you have dream thoughts and feelings and reactions to those dream objects. But in truth, what appears as manifold, many, is nothing more than that prajnana ghanam, that homogeneous lump of mind stuff. How appears is all that. Do you see that? Question, Lloyd?
Nope.
This is no different.
I don't understand what you mean, but that's all right.
You don't understand it?
No.
Well, so what is the things in your dream, what are they made of?
I don't know. Thoughts, feelings.
It's the stuff of your mind.
Right.
They appear as many, but they're not really many. It's a psychic optical illusion.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is no different. That's what he's saying. Going on.
Vishesham samparityajya sanmatram yat alepakam ekarupam maharupam sattaya tatpadam viduhu. Having completely abandoned all distinction, that which is stainless and is of the nature of pure existence is known as the abode of existence, having one form of extensive nature.
So all this phenomenal world comes about like a dream. I like to say you are the god of your dream. When you go to sleep, you experience, I call it mini Maya. You go, and a whole dream world is manifested by your puny little mind. Now, you, the ego, the individuality, are not dreaming all of this. You're, to some degree, co-creating part of it. But basically, it is God who brings about the world, not like a potter makes a pot, but it is, as it were, sankalpena. That's what the scriptures say. By means of imagination. And the Hebrew scripture is not much different. In Genesis 1:1, the Hebrew Bible says, and God said, let there be light. God speaks speaks the world into creation. And Puneet helped us out, weeks ago by a breakdown of the word mantra. What do the two parts of it mean?
So it splits into man and tra. And so tra is a root for the word which means to travel or is a vehicle. And man is the mind. So mantra together becomes vehicle of the mind.
But it's not just Om Namah Shivaya or Hare Krishna. It means speech itself is a vehicle for the mind. So when the Hebrew scriptures talk about God speaking the world into existence, it's exactly the same as what the Hindu scriptures say by means of imagination. It's really saying the same thing. But the point is, it's not God's up in the sky and he takes this stuff and he makes a world down there and puts little creatures in it, separate from himself. No. So, Nirguna Brahman, pure awareness, pure consciousness, always the eternal subject, I. Saguna Brahman, that mysterious forking into subject and object. All the names and forms, gross and subtle, are not separate from consciousness. It looks like two, but it's Advaita. It's not two. How are we doing on time? Okay. Next one.
Satta samanya matrasya ya koti paramavadhi saivasya jagato bijam yattasyahi jayate. That which is the climax and ultimate limit of the totality of existence is the seed of this world, for which reason the world is indeed born from that ultimate existence.
So we go back to Vedanta, which is the name of the study of this work. Veda Anta. Veda comes from the root vid, to know. Anta means the end. So it's the end of knowledge. So the exoteric meaning is the study of the Upanishads and the philosophy that's in them, because the Upanishads are the concluding portions of the Vedas. They're the end of the Vedas. But the deeper meaning is, what knowledge is it by which everything is known? So whatever you know, who's the knower? Me. Whatever Wendy knows, who's the knower? I. Every field of experience anywhere in the world, however it is known, the knower is Brahman. Or as Krishna says in Gita, the knower of the field in every field of experience. So what is that by which everything is known, without which nothing can be known, beyond which there is nothing to know? It's the end of knowledge. The buck stops here.
Also, feels like the end of knowledge also is the process of end of knowing itself. which is this constant urge to want to find something or the seeking itself.
Yes, I like that.
The end of seeking.
Yes,
It's like the unknown,
Right.
right?
yes, the very desire to know stuff
Right.
ends.
Right.
Shastravasana. That's what that is. All right, one more.
तत्हेतु सर्वहेतूनां तस्य बीजं न विद्यते ससार सर्वसाराणां तस्मात् सारो न विद्यते तस्मिन् श्वागते चेत शान्ति आप्नोति नैष्टिकीम्. That is the cause of all causes. There is no cause or origin for it. That is the essence of all essences. There is no substance beyond that. When that is known, the mind attains lasting or perfect tranquility.
Yes. So it is that which is the ultimate cause of everything. Again, if we go to the dream state, it becomes simple to understand. Your individual mind is the cause of all the various manifestations in the dream. So, macrocosm. Consciousness is the cause of everything, but consciousness itself has no cause. It just is. I'm having a senior moment. So we had causation. What was the next idea?
Essence.
Yes. What's everything made of? What is the material cause of the phenomenal world? Just like all jewelry that's gold jewelry, the material cause is gold. All clay pots, the material cause is clay. All the objects, all the people, all the animals, all the trees, all the stars. What's the stuff out of which they're made? Consciousness itself. So what? Just like gold never leaves its nature, its prakriti. Just as clay is always clay, no matter what form it takes. The universe never leaves its swabhava. If it's Brahman, Satchidananda Rupaha, its nature is existence, consciousness, and bliss. I just think there's problems out there. Right where the trouble seems to be, there God is. God does not leave its nature. Okay, we'll end here tonight. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.